Hi there everyone, this is Emil coming to you from my garden shed. So I guess you know me, and Ben's going to put this up on our social media. I think it's not really a drum lesson, it's more of a, you know, a guide to how I'm playing the drums, which is not saying it's any better or worse, but it's a different way from I think most drummers play. This is a New Orleans style that I play, so when I'm playing drums, I'm always thinking about the New Orleans style. I spent 10 years living there, and it sort of rubbed off on me, I hope. So that's what we're going to focus on. What's different about the New Orleans style? Predominantly, it's based upon snare drum and bass drum playing, so it's actually drumming. Most players nowadays use cymbals as the timekeeping element, the main focus. But New Orleans drumming is just that. It's playing the drums. So you're focusing in your mind when you're playing. If we have a tempo that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Many jazz drummers will think about cymbal like this. New Orleans drumming, the essence of it starts with the press roll and the bass drum. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A regular jazz beat, blues, whatever. New Orleans. Now, how you do a press roll, if you're right-handed, I'll show you, which I am. If you're left-handed, just transfer it over. You keep time with the left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The right hand does what is called a buzz roll. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bring them together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put the bass drum in. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That sounds pretty boring. When it gets a bit more exciting is when you start to syncopate it. We'll get to that further down the line. So that's the first thing to start thinking about, how the bass drum and the snare drum are the center of it all. If you listen to early Fats Domino recordings, James Booker, the Meters, all that New Orleans rhythm and blues, rock and roll, funk, whatever you call it, it's based around the snare drum, the bass drum. You can hear cymbals on the recordings, but they're not the dominant thing coming out the drum kit. Earl Palmer was the New Orleans drummer on many of those early recordings. Tom-toms, neither. You don't hear many tom-toms. It's all about that bass and snare drum. I'll give you a little example of a bass and snare drum. It's like a conversation. Say a conversation, this makes me think the warmth of a New Orleans band when you hear it is, from the rhythm section's point of view, it's about a conversation. The bass drum and the snare drum are conversing with each other. So to verbalize it, instead of just boom, cha, bass, snare, you're having the bass boom, 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 snare, cha, 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 boom, that's the bass, that's the snare, boom, cha, boom, boom, cha, boom, boom, cha, boom, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, like that. It's going up and down. So what does that give us? When you have a conversation, you have warmth. It's like human warmth, interaction. So instead of a monotonous boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, you know, like a robotic or a computerized beat that just goes on and on forever, which has its place, it can be fine, but we have a give and take. Michael Jackson's, what's that called? Billie Jean. That's like a repetitive. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. Okay, it's good. It's got its place. The music I'm interested in more than that, although I love it, is a warmth. I think that goes back to the church, maybe the gospel churches. So the preacher says something, and then the people in the congregation are like, oh yeah, they're reacting. So he says, yeah, do this and do that and do that. And they say, yeah, you're right, you're right. He goes backwards and forwards the whole time. So when you hear that music, you can react to it more because it's more in tune with us as humans. That's what I think. That's my take on it. Practice. Yeah. I practice a lot. I try and do more than an hour a day, every day. Some days I don't get it done. Some days I do. Some days I do 5 hours a day. Sitting here, practicing endlessly. Where does that get you? Well, it's like when you do practice, when I practice what's called the rudiments. I practice 40 rudiments. They're written out there. You can find them on the internet anywhere. Print them out. So you practice them day after day after day because you're trying to push yourself beyond your limit. So you learn the 40 rudiments, and then you apply yourself day after day. So when you go out on a job or interact with other musicians, hopefully the things you're going to play are going to be easier than what you've been practicing, and it should flow. It should come from your subconscious. That's the secret to it. You don't want to be practicing on the gig or on the stage or on the rehearsal when you're rehearsing with other musicians. You want to forget that practice and have it all just in the subconscious of your mind and let it come out. You know, if you go to a social meeting and you're talking to someone, you're not thinking, oh, and what is this sentence? Am I speaking grammatically correct? And should I pause? You know, there's no time for that. So you can't do that musically speaking. You can't go out into a musical situation and start getting hung up on what you're doing, how you're doing it. That all has to go completely. The way for me to reach that point, I'm not a natural. I've had to practice for years and years. The way for me to reach that point is by disciplined, regular practice. Practice every day for 20 minutes is better than practicing once a week for 4 hours. We're getting in a bit deep there, but that's what you should be doing. And regular daily practice coincides with our bodies and the mechanism, the way we live our lives, the 24-hour period. A little bit every day. Try and do that. So rudiments are really important. You can start off with the first rudiment, which is very simple. It's called the single stroke roll. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Left, right, left, right. You end up on the 40th rudiment with some pretty elaborate things. The 40th rudiment is the triple rat-a-McCue. That's your own journey. Get those rudiments, print them out. I go to Wikipedia and just look at the drum rudiments and print them out. They're interesting. I'm not here to tell you about how to do that or whether you should do that or not, but that's where I would start. I'd learn those drum rudiments. You haven't got any drumsticks? Go to your cupboard and get some of those cheap coat hangers, bust the little things out of there. Or do it on a knife and fork. Do it on your hands. Easy. You can do it at home in this period of isolation which we're all having to endure. So I'll show you a couple of things which might start to get you interested. If you don't have a snare drum, don't worry, do it on whatever. The roll, the buzz roll, the press roll, however you want to call it, it's one of the rudiments. So each hand, you drop it. Watch this. You're dropping it. Look at my wrist. It's not a nervous where your arm goes tense. Horrible. This is a very soft, gentle, like a clutch on a car, because your other one does the same. Drop them both. Let it buzz. And then you bring them together. You can do it on a tabletop. If you're doing it on a tabletop, a kitchen table, let it buzz. Drop it. And then eventually bring them together. That, once you can do that, leads you onto that press roll. Remember, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sped up with the bass drum. Excuse me, it's got a dry cough there developing. Most drumming, most music that we listen to and enjoy in our culture is in 4/4 or 3/4, but mostly it's in 4/4. Bass drum on 1 and the 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the other beat, put on the hi-hat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bass, hi-hat, bass, hi-hat, bass, hi-hat, bass, hi-hat. When you put the snare drum in, it all comes together like that. Another very important aspect of New Orleans music, New Orleans drumming, is the fact that it's based over 2 bars, clave if you want to call it a musical term. So New Orleans music mainly is not a 1 bar 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 2 bar phrase. 1, 2, 2, 2, da 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 4. Da 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 da. Doesn't just repeat 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. There's thousands of ways you could do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the second bar is different. And why or where is it different? Well, the last beat is accented. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's the same. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you start accenting that last beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're accenting the last beat on every second bar. If we play it without that accent, it sounds okay, but when you start accenting it, you'll start getting a little funkier, more fun. accenting of that beat, which is really important. If you practice every day, you will get better, you will improve. Hopefully enough, you can play, you know, a gig or get some friends together and have fun. We're not aiming for perfection, we're aiming at starting here to learn something new that's not overwhelming. So I guess I can do courses for people that know about music already. We can go down that route, assuming you know about musical drumming notation and things like that. I guess you'd call that an advanced thing. So you can go that route. Or we can go back to square one for a complete novice and start, as I say, with coat hangers and drumsticks, if you've got them, or not coat hangers playing on the table. It's easy. It'd be pointless for me to focus on showing you the rudiments because you can get them off the internet. But I can explain to you about New Orleans drumming, or I can explain to you about rock drumming, Latin drumming, whatever. It's all based around timekeeping. Once you get away from that in your head and you start thinking about how you're going to show off your technique or this and that, then we're really lost. Focus on the core essence, the underlying thing of why you're doing it. What are you doing? You're a drummer. You're there to keep time. If you keep time, your natural style will come out. You don't have to think about being fancy, being clever. There's always someone cleverer than you, and nobody gives a damn who's the cleverest, you know. People often say the greatest drummer of all time, Buddy Rich. Possibly so, but that's subjective. But if you listen to Buddy Rich, you put on the internet, you see him playing. He does 1,000,000 solos and things that, you know, probably nobody will ever be able to replicate, me included. But you listen to his recordings, and then you understand why he's perhaps revered as the greatest. Because when I say recording, I mean when he's playing with a band, you know, on a session. He's playing underneath a band. He does just that. He plays underneath, as all the great drummers do, that are respected as being the masters. Drumming is a supporting role to me. It's not a starring role. You're not going to be the star. You want to do that, be a singer or get a guitar or whatever. Drums are there, in my mind, to support and to enhance what is there. But you know, the best, the most fun thing about it, it's hypnotic. Now, when I say hypnotic, yeah, you can practice the rudiments and get hypnotized by yourself. But what I'm referring to is when you play in a club or a successful concert and the band is playing well and you're playing well by your own standards, you can hypnotize the room. You can make everyone in that room feel good. Feel relaxed, happy, sad, excited. Through the rhythms that you're playing, you can make them feel like they want to dance. If you're a bad drummer, you won't get any people dancing. Often if I'm playing, I look around and I'm watching people's feet. And if people's feet are tapping or they're nodding, then that's a sign that something's going in the right direction. If nobody's dancing or nodding or clapping, or I mean clapping in time, then maybe something's wrong. And maybe what's wrong is you're not keeping time. Maybe you need to focus on that pulse. So get a metronome. There's 100 apps you can download as a metronome. They're free. Practice along with that. Maybe practice just that. First thing to practice with your coat hangers or your hands is that first rudiment, the single stroke roll. So all you're doing is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You get a metronome and do that. Now sometimes I do that for an hour. I do it at 40 beats per minute. I do like 1. And I keep that going for an hour. It's what makes me a bit strange perhaps, but it does make you stronger. that's a lot to ask. Try doing the single stroke roll at, you know, a comfortable, a medium tempo like that. Try doing that for 5 minutes to a metronome, so you'll have it in your head or in your speaker. Click, click. Try doing that for 5 minutes. You won't believe how long that seems. Try doing it for 1 minute. It's hard. It's really hard. But when you come out of doing that for an hour, say, you feel like a prize fighter. You could go and play and you'll be locked into a groove. You'll feel good and you make other people feel good. I guess that I'm going to wrap this little introduction thing here up. I hope it's of help to some people. And as I say, I can do one-on-one lessons, or I can keep broadcasting this way and advanced, intermediate, whatever. But there's thousands of lessons on the internet. You can learn, you know, off the internet. What I'm trying to offer is an insight maybe into how I've adapted the styles of New Orleans into what I do, and into the band, the Fallen Heroes, and at the same time a little bit of philosophy behind it, because there's plenty of that. I'm 55. I've been drumming since I was 16, almost every day of my life. I've spent thousands of hours on it, and I've got a little bit to tell about it if you're interested. See ya. It's a pleasure to see most of you.